The realm. Do you know what the realm is? It's the 1,000 blades of Aegon's enemies. A story we agree to tell each other over and over till we forget that it's a lie.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back for the official Game of Thrones Season 8 trailer breakdown video. That's right, folks, we finally got a new trailer from HBO. So, without wasting anyone's time, let's break this down frame by frame because there is a lot to unpack here. The trailer actually begins with a close-up of Arya Stark's face. It looks like this could be a scene during the big battle in Winterfell. As you can see, Arya is scared, covered in sweat, out of breath, and running around the castle. As we see Arya running through the castle, we can hear some of her dialogue overlapping the scene. Arya Stark says, "I know death. He's got many faces. I look forward to seeing this one." Right as she says that, she holds up what appears to be a dragonglass dagger. I would like to say that Arya has to be talking to either Bran or Jon during that scene when she holds up the dagger. That means Arya is definitely referring to the Night King, which most likely explains why we see Arya scared and running at the very beginning of the trailer. Now I will say Arya should be careful what she wishes for because she may have seen death before, but she has never seen anything quite like this. So what does all this mean? Well, it can only mean one thing. The Night King is most likely on the verge of winning the first battle at Winterfell. Unfortunately, the Starks may have to abandon their ancestral home for at least a short period of time. For any of you wondering, this should take place right in the middle of the season during episode 3, which is directed by Miguel Sapochnik. That is the same man who directed Hardhome and the Battle of the Bastards. Some of you may not know this, but there are secret tunnels under Winterfell that could allow the Starks to escape their castle if it gets overran by the Night King's army. We have heard about these secret tunnels on 2 different occasions. This could also explain why they released that teaser about the Crypts of Winterfell. If they do have to leave their castle, they will need to go down into the Crypts of Winterfell to access those tunnels. By the looks of that teaser, the Night King and the White Walkers could be following them down there. That could also explain why we see Arya Stark running during that opening scene of the trailer. But now let's move on to some of the other scenes. We can also see Davos walking along atop of the castle walls, and I would say this is most likely right before the Night King's army arrives in Winterfell. We then see Varys and a large group of people hiding down in the Crypts of Winterfell. If you look at the back of the photo, you can see the large statues with the stone direwolves. So it appears as if they are hiding down here during the battle for Winterfell. We can see Varys looking somewhat scared as he looks up at the ceiling. He probably hears all the chaos taking place right above him. It does make sense for them to hide down here because, as I said before, access to those hidden tunnels is down here as well. After these scenes, we finally leave Winterfell for the first time in the trailer. In this scene, we can see some of Euron Greyjoy's ships. This is when we get our first glimpse of the Golden Company, and I have to be honest with you, at first glance I almost thought that was Jaime Lannister standing above all the other soldiers. But on second thought, I have to assume that is the commander of the Golden Company, Harry Strickland. As we all know, Cersei acquired 20,000 mercenaries from Essos, and they are currently on their way to King's Landing thanks to Euron Greyjoy's escort. They should arrive at the capital in either the first or the second episode of the season. After we see the Golden Company on their way to Westeros, we then see Lord Commander Ed, Tormund Giantsbane, and Beric Dondarrion. So we can now confirm they did survive the attack at Eastwatch by the Sea. Not only that, but they did find their way to Castle Black to team up with the rest of the Night's Watch, which is something I have said they would do. Now it is hard to say where Tormund, Beric, and Ed are at in that scene. Beric Dondarrion is lighting their way with his flaming sword, so it's possible they could be entering an empty castle that has no candles lit. If they aren't at Winterfell in that scene, then my guess is they are on their way there. This could be the Carhold or the Last Hearth, but I'm not entirely sure. Now the next scene has me very excited because we can hear Bran Stark talking to who I think is Jon Snow. In the scene, we can see Bran Stark sitting with Samwell Tarly, but we also see Samwell Tarly turn his head to the door, so that means that someone is most likely walking into the bedroom. Based on what we can hear Bran Stark talking about, it has to be Jon Snow. Bran Stark says, "Everything you did brought you where you are now, where you belong." As Bran Stark says where you belong, they show an image of the Red Keep in King's Landing. Now we know Jon Snow is the rightful heir to the Iron Throne, so this is most likely when Bran is telling Jon who he truly is. Then after Bran says where you belong, he says home. That's when we see Jon and Dany marching to Winterfell together. This is the scene they have been teasing for several months now. This scene is said to be very reminiscent of King Robert Baratheon's arrival to Winterfell in the opening scene of the series. Now this time, Bran is not climbing the castle as he sees the arrival, but he is sitting atop the wall as he sees Jon and Dany approaching. Sansa Stark is up there as well, and this is when we see Daenerys Targaryen's dragons arrive at Winterfell for the first time. Sansa Stark gets a great look at the dragons up close as they fly right over her head. After we see the dragons fly over Winterfell, we then hear a speech from Jon Snow, and he is also talking about the Night King and his army coming. Jon says, "They're coming. Our enemy doesn't get tired, doesn't stop, doesn't feel." Now let's unpack all these scenes they show as we hear Jon Snow's speech. The first thing we see is Jon and Daenerys down in the crypts of Winterfell. It did look like Jon was already down there first because we can see Daenerys walking to him in that first shot. Then it cuts to Daenerys standing right next to Jon. Now this could just simply be Jon down here visiting Ned for a number of reasons, but I would like to think this happens right after Bran tells Jon who he really is. This should make for one very interesting scene for two different reasons. Not only will Daenerys find out Jon is the one that has the rightful claim, but this could also be when Jon finds out Daenerys is pregnant with his child. Their emotions may be running very high during that scene. They will need to decide what they want to do with their relationship from here on out, and who should take the Iron Throne. After we see Jon and Dany down in the crypts of Winterfell, we then see Gendry working in Winterfell's forges. Now this is what Gendry was supposed to be doing last season, but as we all know, he volunteered to go out beyond the wall instead. I imagine this is what Gendry will be doing until the Night King arrives. This also means that Arya and Gendry had to have reunited as well, which you all know that is one scene that I am dying to see. Now we all know that Jon mined all the dragonglass from the caves on Dragonstone. Almost everyone should have a dragonglass dagger next season, but that is not the only weapon we can see Gendry making in the trailer. I don't know if you noticed or not, but Gendry was laying that hammer down onto some steel. It looks like Gendry will be making some swords next season as well, and that has me very excited. Could Gendry just be making swords out of regular steel, or could he possibly be working on some Valyrian steel? Now I don't want to get ahead of myself, but I did want to point that out. Alright, so after we see Gendry, we then begin to see the battle at Winterfell unfold. The castle has now erupted in chaos. We can see Jorah Mormont on horseback, and we can see Grey Worm give Missandei a kiss. And we even see Jaime Lannister fighting. Call me crazy, but it even looked like Jaime was fighting with his sword hand. Now I can't see who Jaime is standing next to, but it does appear as if the castle was on fire to some extent. This was almost guaranteed to happen because we all know there are dragons fighting in that battle. Winterfell will take some significant damage next season, which may be why the Starks have to leave their castle before it completely falls. Now let's continue. Earlier in the trailer, we could see Cersei and Qyburn standing outside the castle where Jaime and Cersei stood last season when Euron Greyjoy first arrived. This is most likely a very similar scene, only this time Euron is arriving with the Golden Company, which we can see in the next scene. It might be hard for some of you to see, but if you look closely, you can see the commander of the Golden Company standing right in front of the Iron Throne. Euron Greyjoy, who is dressed in all black, is standing to his right. This has to be right after they arrived in the capital, and I am expecting Cersei to tell him what she wants all of them to do. However, if you look at the next scene, it doesn't look like the Golden Company will be enough. Next, we can see Cersei Lannister drinking some wine, and by this time, Cersei must no longer be pregnant, or else she would not be drinking that wine. I happen to believe Cersei will have a miscarriage. As we all know, Maggie the Frog told her she would only have 3 children, and that is what I believe to be true. Now this is just a guess, but I think that scene could be from the end of the season. I just get that sense that this is right before Cersei is killed. You can already see that she does have tears in her eyes. Now maybe she is crying because she just lost her child, but I think this could also be right before King's Landing is taken from her. As we all know, it's only a matter of time before that happened. We have all known this was coming ever since the second season when we saw Daenerys Targaryen's vision at the House of the Undying. Cersei Lannister was good enough to outlast most of her enemies, but she too will fall like the rest of them. Now after this we get some more scenes of Jon and Dany arriving in Winterfell. The first thing we see are the dragons flying through the north. Then we can see Arya looking at the dragons for the first time. As everyone runs behind her, Arya has a slight smile come across her face. Getting to see the dragons in real life has her very excited, and I am looking forward to Arya and Daenerys meeting next season. After this, we can hear Jaime Lannister talking to someone, and I believe this is when Jaime arrives in Winterfell to help Jon and Daenerys fight the army of the dead. Jaime says, "I promise to fight for the living, and I intend to keep that promise." We did see Jaime Lannister fighting in the trailer, so we do know that they accept his offer to still fight with them. We then get a shot of Grey Worm getting suited and booted for the big battle. Then we see Jon Snow standing out by the weirwood tree in Winterfell's Godswood. This is most likely another scene where Jon stands alone so he can reflect on everything that he has been told. He has to come to terms with the fact that he is actually a Targaryen and that he is next in line for the Iron Throne. He might also be thinking about the fact that he will be a father soon. Like I said in my last video, I believe Daenerys is without a doubt pregnant by Jon Snow. I think they foreshadowed this way too many times last season for it not to be true. We can even see Daenerys standing in one of the rooms at Winterfell, and we see her close her eyes, so she is most likely thinking about everything that is happening between her and Jon. Like I said, I am very interested in seeing how all of this plays out because I wonder what this will do to Jon and Dany's relationship from here on out. Now I want to talk about the next scene. In this one, we get a close-up of Sandor Clegane's face. This could just simply be a shot of the Hound getting ready to fight at Winterfell, but I am hoping it is something more than that. I am hoping this is right as the Hound is about to challenge his brother to a fight till the death. After this, we start to see a bunch of different characters running around. It's really too hard to say what is exactly happening in these scenes, but my guess is this is when the Night King is starting to win the battle at Winterfell, causing everyone to flee the battlefield. Next, we can see Jon and Daenerys walking up to the dragons. Now, I am hoping this is after Jon finds out he is a Targaryen. I would love to see Jon actually climb on top of Rhaegal, the dragon named after his father, and Daenerys Targaryen's brother. We have already seen Jon start to bond with Drogon once. As soon as Jon starts to fully embrace who he is, then I imagine he will have the confidence to try to mount Rhaegal. Now, we all know that Jon can kick some ass on the battlefield, but they could get so much more done if both of the dragons had riders. This could also help prevent Rhaegal from getting taken out of the sky by another one of those damn ice spears. Now, the next scene is a little harder for me to figure out. Here we can see Arya Stark spinning around in circles, fighting someone or something, but I can't exactly see what the hell is going on here. I did watch it a few times and I still can't figure it out. Now, it is most likely during the battle in Winterfell, but for all I know, it could be in King's Landing. Let me know what you think about that one. After that, we see Tyrion Lannister looking up into the sky. This immediately cuts to a scene of the dragon breathing fire, but they are not the same scenes. We can see that it's daytime when Tyrion is looking up at the sky, and it's nighttime when the dragon spits out its fire. Now, maybe Tyrion is looking at Jon riding on Rhaegal for the first time, or maybe Tyrion is looking up at the Red Keep in King's Landing. It's really hard to say, but I do not think Tyrion is getting killed by a dragon in that particular scene. I just wanted to say that because I saw some fans on Twitter saying that was what was happening, but I do not agree with that. Now, the trailer ends with the battle for Winterfell. We can see all of our favorite characters standing in formation, waiting for the attack to begin. It is completely silent as they wait for the Night King to arrive. The last shot of this trailer actually gave me goosebumps because I know this battle is about to be epic. We can see Winterfell just off in the distance as one of the White Walker's horses comes into frame. We do not hear the Night King's dragon, but you can bet your ass he is right over their head. This is about to be absolutely insane. I cannot wait to hear what all of you have to say about these scenes. Leave your thoughts down below in the comments section. Let me know if there was anything I missed. Trust me, this will not be the only video I make about the trailer. I will continue to watch it over and over again, hoping to mine it for some more gold. Anyways, I want to thank all of you for watching today's video. Make sure you subscribe, that way you can see all of the upcoming videos about the final season of Game of Thrones. Hopefully, I see all of you come back for the next ones. Have a great day. I'll see you soon. Bye.